New York City's public transit system is one of the most famous and efficient in the world. But as a first-time visitor who may not be familiar with riding the subways, it can seem like an endless maze that leads you to the upside down, which is why a lot of visitors will try to avoid the subway as much as possible. But in a city this big and expensive, the subway is your best bet of saving time and money while you explore, and knowing how to navigate it can make or break your trip. The fare right now is $2.90 per ride, but that's scheduled to increase in 2026 to $3 or more. MetroCards are being phased out for a new tap and pay system, and there's a new, bigger, brighter map. In this video, I'll go through each of those points, plus share common tips to make your first time on the subway as smooth as possible. If that's interesting, stay tuned and we'll get right into it. MetroCards will be phased out by December 31st, 2025. After that, you'll need to use a contactless debit or credit card or OMNY card to tap and pay. Tap and pay with your debit or credit card is the easiest thing, especially if you have a digital card already loaded on your mobile device, like phone or smartwatch. Just tap against the screen, wait for the green, and go. But for international visitors, each tap can mean a bank transaction fee, which can start to add up. You can avoid those fees if you use the OMNY card. The OMNY card costs $1 to purchase, and you can purchase them at each subway station, just like you would a MetroCard. When you're ready to use it, just tap on the screen, wait for the green, and go. If you run out of fare, it's easy to add more money to your OMNY card, but it's hard to get it off as a visitor because it goes back to your OMNY account. And why would you use an OMNY account if you're not in New York anymore? So if you load it with $30 and you've only used $20 by your last day, expect that you'll be out $10. If you're traveling with children, kids shorter than 44 inches or 112 centimeters ride free, and one card can pay for up to 4 people. For people traveling in groups, sometimes banks need a few minutes to verify that first transaction is not fraud. When this happens, your first tap will work, but if you try to pay for someone else in your group, it won't allow them through. To avoid this, have one person take a short trip on the subway when you check into your hotel, just to get that first transaction out of the way. And then when you're exploring with your group, everything will be smooth. When you're ready to get on the subway, you have to find where the entrance is. In Manhattan, the subway runs underground, so you'll need to look for subway signs. In Times Square, they're lit up and pretty easy to find. Sometimes they're next to buildings like this, but most times you'll see a globe next to green stairs. And there's 2 colors on these globes. It's either green or red. Green means entrance and red means exit. If you're in a wheelchair or mobility scooter, then you need to look for the wheelchair accessible stations that have ramps or elevators. And you can tell which stations are wheelchair accessible by the blue icon on the map. Not all wheelchair accessible stations have working elevators, so to be on the safe side, use the bigger stations. That's going to be the stations where multiple trains stop. You can also use the wheelchair accessible map, and I've included a link to it in the description below. Now, trying to figure out which train to get on is probably the most complicated part for visitors because there's no signs on the subway that say this way to Central Park. For most visitors exploring Manhattan, you just need to know 2 things. Are you going uptown to the Bronx or downtown towards Brooklyn? When you're looking at a map, it's easy to see which way is uptown and downtown. But when you're underground, it can get a little complicated, so you need to pay attention to signage. At local stations, there are signs at the subway entrance that say uptown or downtown before you get into the subway system. But at the larger stations, you won't see those signs until you get into the subway system. If you realize that you're standing on the wrong side, maybe you're on the downtown side when you need to go uptown, there's usually a set of stairs that will let you cross to the other side for free. At some local stations, you will need to leave the subway system and cross the street to get to the opposite side. Anytime you leave the subway system, you have to pay again to re-enter. So if you find yourself at a local station and you need to leave the subway and you want to avoid the fee of paying again, take the train to the next express stop and transfer there. And you'll know which stops are local and express when you look at a map. This year, the MTA released a new map, and it's easier for visitors to read. When there's multiple trains, there's multiple lines. Local trains make more stops than express trains, but they both run along the same line. And the train line is what's designated by the color, not the train. This is why it's important to never refer to trains by colors, because you'll mix up the express and the local, get on the wrong train, and miss your stop. That's also when the subway will take you to the upside down. I'm joking, of course, but Referring to trains by colors is an easy way for first-time visitors to get lost. Now, let's put all this into context, because as a visitor, you don't need to take a quiz to ride the subway. You just need to know how to get to your next destination. And here's the key. You don't plan a day using the subway the way you would if you're used to driving. Think about the subway as a transportation method to get you to your next area. And when you're in that area, you're going to do a bunch of things. The idea is to group all your activities by neighborhood. And if you can do that, you'll save a lot of time and money on transportation costs. Now, when it comes to riding the subway, there's a few tips to keep in mind. First, always stand behind the yellow line. That's a safety precaution to make sure you're not bumped accidentally and fall on the tracks. When it's time to board the train, make sure to stand to the side and let people off the train first before you get on. People need to get off the train to make space for you to get on. When you're trying to decide which train car to get on, avoid empty cars. Those cars are empty for a reason. The only time you can ignore that empty car rule is when you're getting on the train at the first stop. And for most visitors, that's going to be the 7 at Hudson Yards or the 1 at South Ferry Whitehall Street, which is down by the Statue of Liberty. Also, if you can avoid rush hour, do it. I'm sure you avoid rush hour at home. Why would you want to come here and get stuck in it? In the morning, rush hour is between 7:30 and 9:30, and in the evening, it's 4 to 6:30. 4 is a little early, but you got to remember that's when kids are getting out of school, teachers are getting off work, and New York is the largest school district in the nation, so that's a lot of people on the train. Now, when you're in the city, it's always good to keep a digital map on you with the GPS just to make sure you don't get lost. And the one I always recommend is Google Maps. It gives real-time subway and walking directions, and it's very simple to use. If you haven't used Google Maps with a public transit system before, take a look at this video next.